So we know that, right? We have to all know that together. So having said that, will you please help me welcome this morning our wonderful practitioner, Fanny Munlin. She's going to do our spiritual mind treatment this morning. Fanny?
Okay. Yes, good. Good morning. Let's take a deep breath and go within and meet Spirit within each one of us. Recognizing that there is but one power, one presence, one God, one source of all life. And each one of us is an individualization of the power and the presence of God. And as we let go and let God, greater health, greater well-being comes easily and effortlessly. For God is the source of each one of us. We are here by the divine Spirit of God expressing as each one of us individualized. And as we open up and accept this truth about ourselves, we find that all things work together for good in each one's life. We move forward this day with a confidence, knowing that we are supported by an infinite knower, an omnipotent present, an omnipotent action of love, of divine guidance. We let go and let the power and the presence of God guide us through any challenge that we may face, be it health, financial, relationship, a creative expression of the great ideas that resides in each one of us. We let the power and the presence of God guide and bring forth that which we desire, that which is good not only for us, but for good for everyone around us. And we know that the universe is not a universe of chaos. It is orderly. It is peaceful. And when we go inside, we find that peace, that joy that instills and moves us forward with praise and gratitude for the divine guidance of God and for the love of God in all that we do and say. We are eternally grateful to this indwelling power, this indwelling knowingness that God is the source and substance of our lives. And we let go and let God. With praise and gratitude for the love of God and the divine guidance of God, I release this treatment into the law of mind and action, where it's accepted and acted upon at once. And so it is.
Thank you for that beautiful treatment, Fanny. That was very powerful. Did you feel that? Yes. Thank you. That was a blessing. And now please help me welcome our other licensed practitioner, Barbara Blake. She's going to do our reading this morning. Barbara?
Good morning. The reading this morning is going to be from The Power of Decision by Raymond Charles Barker, and it's entitled Decide to Live Richly. The grandeur of life is known by the few when it should be known by the many. The majority of people live in part only. They are half healthy, half wealthy, half happy, and half creative. They have accepted this half way of living as normal. Once in a while, in a rare moment, they glimpse a larger life and wish that it could be so. They then return to their habitual thinking and continue to function in their half-hearted way. Half living is abnormal and unnecessary. You can live a much fuller life right where you are in your present circumstances. It does not require more money, a better job, a nicer home, or a different marriage partner. It requires a change in consciousness, and this you can do, for you are a thinker. You are the controller of your consciousness. The moment you decide to live a richer life, your consciousness will devise the ways and means of your having it. Consciousness contains total intelligence because consciousness is the action of the infinite mind thinking. Your consciousness is the individualization of the total consciousness of being. That is why it will demonstrate for you a richer life when you are certain you want it and have decided to have it. And so it is.
Thank you. Thank you, Barbara. That was a wonderful reading as well. And now I'm going to give you the announcements, and they are just that I'm having a workshop today after the wonderful lesson that we're having, and the lesson is going to be given to you this morning by Fanny Munlin, our wonderful practitioner who just did that treatment. And if you're interested in tapping and spiritual mind treatment, that's what I'm doing the lesson on. So you will be learning how to do tapping. And it's a wonderful way. Anybody in here besides me need to let go of some stress? Oh yeah, oh yeah. I'm glad I can be here with all of you this morning. It means a lot. It means a lot to be here in your company. And I'm very grateful for this teaching. I really am, because where would some of us and all of us and most of us be without it? You know, that's just what I want to say about that. So, peace be still. You know, those words keep on coming through me and through each and every one of us. So let's take the time now to wish each other a happy Sunday. Happy Sunday, Ashira. Blessings. Thank you. Thank you. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday, Barbara. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday, Barbara. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. And now it's time for our wonderful musicians this morning. We have Ashira and Yoichi, so please welcome them.
All right. Good morning. So with this first one, I invite you to take in the music, to allow this to be a space to close your eyes, to be in the space of letting go and surrendering. To spirit, I
trust you. Oh, in your spirit I daily give. I surrender. Oh, I surrender.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was absolutely beautiful. Thank you, Yoichi and Ashira. And we look forward to your success at the Apollo, putting that out there. Okay, so now it is absolutely a privilege for me to introduce our guest speaker to you. Fanny Munlin is our licensed practitioner. She works at the United Nations. She walks the talk, so let's give a warm welcome to Fanny for the wonderful talk that she's going to give this morning.
Thank you all. I'm going to talk about prosperity in a much broader term than just money. I'm going to talk about prosperity, internal prosperity. I did a lot of reading in preparing for this talk and self-examination. You know, this teaching is a self-help teaching. And we have to be willing to look at ourselves honestly, and we have to be willing and ready to make change. Now, the one thing about the universe, change is constant. But somehow we resist change. And I had to change my thinking about prosperity. Because prosperity is not just having a lot of things, cars and fur coats and all kinds of, it is an attitude. It's an attitude of what you think about yourself. Who are you? Who am I? I am, and you are, a divine idea in the mind of God, manifest as whatever your name is. I am Fanny Munlin, and I am, and you are, a divine idea in the mind of God. And being a divine idea in the mind of God means that you have all of the attributes individualized within you and within me to do and to be whatever we choose to do and to be. Now, this teaching is very good, And it can be used for good, and it can be used for bad. God gives us choice. And we need to look at the choices we make. Eric Butterworth said that it's not things, but it's attitude towards ourselves. How do we think about ourselves? What do we think about who we are and what we truly believe? I truly believe in the divine Spirit of God. I was raised as an Episcopalian and taught that there is a God somewhere up there that is looking down on me, and that will, if I'm not good, God will be displeased with me. Coming into religious science, I learned that I am a part of God, and the God Spirit that runs and circulates in the universe is in me, and that my choices determines my experiences. And I try to make good choices. I don't always do, because I'm human and I make mistakes, and we all do. But the beauty of this teaching and religious science and the way we practice religious science gives us the opportunity to make corrections. Now, that is a loving God. That is an infinite knower. To have you have the opportunity to make the change. Barbara read the reading this morning about a half full, half of this, half of that. We should not settle for half of anything. Not half of good experiences, half of a good relationship. You deserve the very best. I deserve the very best. Spiritual economics talks about giving and getting. There's two sides to prosperity. One is getting and one is giving. The Spirit of God will give us what we ask for, but knowing what it is you want is key. Because some of us may want beautiful house on a hill someplace with overseeing a fantastic river, all the furniture that you could possibly want. But is that really what you want? Or have you been told that that is the sign of prosperity? And you have poor health. You have no friends. Relatives only like you because of what you have and not who you are. Think about it. That is not prosperity. Prosperity is feeling good about who you are. Waking up in the morning and looking in the mirror or just looking around and saying, I am grateful to God for who I am. I am grateful for what I have. Be it meager, I am grateful. The attitude, the gratefulness helps Spirit work through you to divine ideas that we all come here equipped, truly equipped to do great things in our lives and for the planet and for every person who benefits from what we do. We don't do things in isolation. Some people will make terrible comments about others. That goes out into the ether, and it comes back. It comes back to you. Think about what you say, when you say it, and how you say it. I try to govern the way I think. Now, that's hard because sometimes I have thoughts that go through and say, Fanny Munlin, you know that person is this and that. and I want to make very bad comments about her. But then I recognize that if I make bad comments about her, that is coming back to me by someone. And it could be someone that I do not know. It could be someone that I meet on the street. It could be the person sitting next to me on the subway who has never seen me ever. But I have sent out this thought of dislike or criticizing her for something that I could not change. That's who she is. Now, to be open and receptive to people who are different, talk different, look different, act different, it's okay. That's that person's right to be and express as that. She or he is living in a prosperous way by being negative. Because you can be positive and be prosperous. You can be negative and be prosperous. But in that negativity is their joy, is their peace, is their love. You have a lot of people who are extremely wealthy and very, very unhappy. You have people with a lot of things, just a million of things. I worked for an organization that we brought foreign students to the United States. But every woman and every person was much richer than I. Social register, millions of dollars, could fly off to any place, anytime, any moment. But one of the women in the place who was extremely wealthy was very, very unhappy. And I said, but you have everything. You have everything. Why are you unhappy? She didn't have self-love. Now, we've heard about self-love for a long time. Self-love is to love who you are. That is part of your prosperity development, is to first love yourself. Because if you can't love who you are, God knows you can't love anybody else. You don't have it in you. Now, we don't live out there, we live in here. And we should be aware of what we accept about ourselves. We should be aware of how we say things. The one thing I learned in studying religious science is that the subconscious mind, and we all have one, you know, doesn't say that's not a good idea, that's not a good thing to do. It says, okay. The conscious mind is the gatekeeper. And in the Bible it says to pray and watch. And for many years I had no idea what does that mean, to pray and watch for what? Am I looking out at something that's coming to me? To pray and to watch is to watch your thinking, to watch your thought patterns, to see how those patterns are working. The more negative you send out, the more negative you receive. And a lot of people wonder, why am I people don't like me? Why are things so difficult? We're in a situation right now where people dislike each other for no reason whatsoever, because a lot of people have never met each other socially or anyway. And this is a prosperous country. There's enough in this world for everybody. But when we start thinking that she has more than I, and that one is better than me, we diminish ourselves, not the person that we're talking about. I decided I am not going to diminish myself. That's not why I'm here. I am here. God said to have Christ, said to have life and to have it more. He came for the purpose that we may have life and have it more abundantly. What does that mean to me? That means that the way I carry myself, the way I think about who I am, the way I interact with others, what I give. Butterworth said, to talk about prosperity and not talk about giving is bad. It's not really teaching religious science. Giving and getting are two pillars of prosperity. We get and we give. But we give from the heart. And what do I mean by that? If you give someone something, it's a gift, and you give it freely without attachments. Doesn't have to come back to you, but expect it. Because when you give out, the universe knows that you have made this vibration. I am reading Freud, and it talks about vibrations. Everything is a vibration. He says that before the computer, all of this ideas of existed in consciousness. But it's the vibration. There is energy around all of us. And we put out words that are good. Those words return to us 10 times. He said giving. When you give, you set out a motion of energy. And it's in the same proportion. It will return to you in the same proportion as you put out. The same proportion as you put out. Just think about giving. Now, I was reading in one of Ernest Holmes' books said it can happen to you. There was a woman who needed $3,000. She did not have it. She needed for rent or some big project. And she was with a practitioner. And the practitioner treated for her and said, "What do you have to give?" She said, "Oh, I don't have anything." She said, "Think about it. What do you have to give?" And she thought for a moment, and she said, "My neighbor is an elderly woman next door, has asked me for a jar of lotion, and I have a small jar of lotion." He said, "Give it." She gave it. And in 5 days, give it. But give it freely. Give it without attachment. Let go and let spirit. Now, how many of us, we come down to our last nickel and we says, "Can I give this $1? Because I don't have any more." Give it without strings. Let it go. Because the universe will return it to you tenfold. She received from a relative that she had, and I read this, from a relative she hadn't seen in years, called for some reason, couldn't figure out why. She called and said, "I have a gift for you." For something that had happened, the anniversary of some celebration they had had, and she wanted to give her the gift. She brought the money. She was able to pay her bill. Now, you may say, "Oh, yeah, it can happen." It can happen. We need to believe in the power and the presence of God within us. A lot of us, I know I do my treatment. I do my treatment every day. And I treat for spiritual guidance in a prosperous consciousness. And what I mean by that, I treat that I am grateful for what I have. And that what I have will grow. I was in Florida, and my house needed to be repainted. And I had a small savings, and I used it. First I thought, oh, can I use this? And then it occurred to me, if I am truly in this teaching, and I believe in this teaching, then I'm going to step out on the word. And I used it freely, and I did not worry. And I am not worried. Because as surely as Christ said that he came that I might have life more abundantly, then I am trusting in the word. Ernest Holmes says that it's the way we think that determines our experiences. Now, I know this is not easy. This teaching calls for discipline. Now, discipline, you know, some of us say, oh, God, discipline, and think fear. No. You can always, the beauty of it is that Spirit allows you to make corrections. If you find yourself going down the wrong path, you can make corrections. But above all, know that you are a divine idea in the mind of God, brought forth to express as an individualization of that power. And that all the power, all the intelligence is in you. And when you need an idea, no matter what challenge it is, if you need an idea, this is what I do. And it works for me, and I think it will work for you. I sit and meditate. Not on the problem, but on the power and the presence of Spirit to guide me through whatever situation I'm in. And you get good results. I would like to say, when you give, according to Whitman, the gift that you give out, and giving part of prosperity, when you give, the gift is more to the giver. What does he mean by that? When you give something, you feel good about it. No matter what it is, if you give it with love, you feel good about it. When you give a card to a friend, when you give a hug to a friend, when you give whatever you give without attachment, makes you feel good. Makes me feel good. I give my time. I give my money. I give my interest. I give my ideas. I work on a committee where I give my ideas about how things should work. I give them freely. Some of them are accepted. Some of them are not, but that's okay. I am giving. And I am giving without worry of the consequences. I'm not worried about who will say, well, this is not. If it's not a good idea at that moment, that's all right. If you give from the heart with gratitude, and we are talking about gratitude. Gratitude, Reverend Loretta talks about gratitude, but I have found that gratitude really is a powerful attribute to have. It is a thing that we should hold on to and use constantly. To be grateful to thank the power and the presence of God within us, to know that is infallible. It will not fail. I read somewhere where a person say, I have no friends, I have no this. That's because that person is not a friend to himself or herself. First, be a friend to yourself. Be a friend to yourself. Love yourself. Think of yourself. I'm not talking about in a conceited way. I am talking about in a way that you appreciate who you are, what you think. We all have a moral center. Don't allow others to tell you what you should or should not do. A lot of people will tell you you can't do this or you shouldn't do that. Make a decision from a spiritual point of view. And when you make a decision from a spiritual point of view within you, all things, whatever you need, whatever resources you need, whatever persons you need, whatever ideas you need will come easily, effortlessly. I know this to be true. I've had challenges of all kinds in health and whatever. But I have stood steadfastly treated. And I recommend to you, and I know you've heard me say this time and time again, and you may not want to hear it again, but I am going to say it. Treatment works. You just need to do it. And then someone will say, well, I don't know how to treat. Yes, you do. Yes, you know how to treat. Open your mouth and say, thank you, Spirit. That is a treatment. Open up and it is not so much the words, it's the feeling in the treatment that makes the vibration goes out from you and brings it back. We are all energy that condensed. And when we realize we're living in a universe that is absolutely supportive of us and will support us and will guide and direct us in all that we do and say and think if it's positive. You can't put out negative and get positive. You put out negative, you get negative. And we are learning that. I have learned that. The more positive I am, the better my experiences are. To love unconditionally. There is to be loved unconditionally. Greater love, self-love, gives you the capacity to love. Because if you want good for yourself, you cannot not want good for someone else. Just think about it. How can I say I want love for myself and not want love for Eve or for my sister or for Reverend Loretta? That's not how it works. You give love, you get love. You give your service, your money, you get more. You share. And if someone says to you, and you can accept the gift, say, thank you for your offer at this time, but I have something similar to that, but I thank you for it. And if you take it and cannot use it, pass it on to someone who can. Keep the flow. You know, the thing that Ernest Holmes talks about, flow, there is a flow in all of our lives. And the greater the flow, the greater the happiness, the greater the joy, the greater the peace that we feel inside. And it's not, prosperity is money, but it is feeling good when you get up in the morning. looking in the mirror and saying, I look good. I am good. I am doing the right thing. That gives you that energy to move forward. I say, and I've said this a lot, you can never, 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 never outgive God. Because God is the giver of all there is in the universe. So if you want more, give more to get more. So ends the lesson.
I need a program. Okay, that was wonderful. Thank you so much for that, Fanny. That was very inspirational, very powerful. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for the reading, Barbara, this morning, and for the treatment. And I just have one little add-on for that, if I may. As Fanny was speaking, the idea came through me, and I want you to take this with you also. That was a wonderful lesson. So much to it. There's so much to it. Many years ago, I gave a lesson about, remember when they used to think, this really goes back to Fanny's lesson this morning. Remember when people used to think that if you want to dump something in the ocean, that you just take all of your stuff and dump it in the ocean because it's really not going to hurt anyone? This is what you're speaking about. This is what came through me. So years ago, you would take all of your garbage, I mean a long time ago, many generations or many decades ago, and they would dump it in the ocean, right? Because they thought that it would never affect anything. But then they began to understand that it affects the fish, and it affects the food, and it affects the life. This is your thinking. You see, people aren't that aware yet, but we're waking up. So what Fanny was saying is so beautiful and so true. Your thoughts are really reflecting throughout the consciousness. It's like an ocean that we live in. We can't see it. It's invisible. But when we take our garbage and just think that we're dumping it on people, we're really doing something to the consciousness. This is what people have talked about, the collective consciousness. So I loved your lesson, but I just wanted to share that with you. Okay, thank you. That was a wonderful lesson, Fanny. Thank you. Okay, and now it's time for our offering affirmation. So let's welcome our wonderful musicians this morning, Ashira and Yoichi.
Everybody knows this song, What's Going On. And know the part in the song where usually when you say, what's the response when I say, picking lines? No, usually you would say, brother, sister. When I say, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? We got that part? We're gonna go through it one more time. So when I say again, picking lines, you say, when I say picking signs, don't talk to me with brutality. What's going on? What's going on? Okay, I think you guys got it now. Picking lines and picking signs. Don't you come with me? Yeah, you still say sister again, or brother, whichever you want. Or the person who's next to you, if it's a sister, sister, brother, brother, or whichever you choose. Yeah, go. Picking lines and picking sides. Don't you talk to me, brutality. Talk to me, so you can see what's going on. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Everybody thinks we're wrong. Who are they to judge us? Simply 'cause our hair is long. You know we've got to find a way to bring some understanding to here today. Picking lines and picking sides. Don't you talk to me. Talk to me so you can see what's going on. What's going on? 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 Won't you tell me, please, what is going on?
That was wonderful. The immortal Marvin Gaye. He was amazing, amazing, amazing. So, I'd like to ask